So everyone appears to still be mental. Took a little trip to the Co-op this morning and there is no pasta, there's no pasta sauces, there's very little of anything in it still. By all accounts, people have brought up all the supply of freezers to shove several freezers in their spare bedrooms and fill it full of food which they'll probably chuck out in 6 months. And it means people like me who've tried to be sensible are left with slim pickings. Now, it's not a massive issue to me, to be honest, as long as I have food to eat. One thing you learn being a single man, especially if that's your preferred method of living, you kind of just wing it when it comes to food. You go to the cupboard and what's in the cupboard, you go, I can knock something up with this. And you're not overly fussy on flavours. There are days when you just can't be bothered and you'll happily just eat dried bread with nothing on it. Now, talking of bread, actually, luckily enough, about a year ago I procured a bread maker because I do like baking a bit of bread. But it's just easy in the bread maker, and I always keep a stock of flour, so I haven't brought any flour since all of this is kicked off, and I've still got a couple of bags left in the cupboard. Hopefully by the time I start getting low, things will have calmed down a bit and there will be stuff back on the shelves. So anyway, today, a route around in the cupboard, I found a half bag of fusilli, some tomatoes that says best before 8th of March, and it's the 22nd today. This box of instant tomato soup mix, is that even still in date? Yeah, February 2021, so still got a year on that. And some mixed herbs. So, a basic pasta it is. And, yeah, I guess I'm just making this video to show you don't have to have all the ingredients for a slap-up meal to knock something up. If I want to water this sauce down a bit, I do actually have some passata in the cupboard. But you got ketchup, you got salt, pepper. I'm going to be able to knock something up with this. So let's see what I can do. So after removing the tomatoes from the packet, they have actually got some white mould growing on them. But what that is just external. And as long as the skin itself hasn't been penetrated yet, they will be just fine. So I shall wash them off and chop them up and see what they're like on the inside. Hopefully you should be able to see a little better now. I've tweaked some settings on the camera. So I've washed these off and straight away, you know, they're firm still. They're not rotting. That is just some external growth which has sort of come from where the actual vine hooks onto the tomato. So just chop that end off and let's see. So they are just fine inside, absolutely fine. Just chop the very end off or chuck that away. Yeah, even like with a smaller chop, that has not penetrated into these at all. This knife isn't particularly sharp, as I'm sure you can see. So yeah, people are way too fussy with foods. Now, with things like bread and stuff, if they have mould on them, do not eat them. You know, there's this myth that, oh, it's just penicillin. Well, penicillin isn't actually even a mould. I believe it's something like penicillia. Penicillin is the toxin that mould produces in order to fend off ever moulds growing on the surfaces it wishes to inhabit. And that is just one variant of mould. There are thousands, if not probably tens of thousands of different kinds of mould. And they only look so many ways. They're fluffy and different colours. Some are blue, some are white, some are green. Just because it's got blue mould on it, A, it doesn't mean it's penicillia producing penicillin. And B, even if it is, it doesn't mean it's safe to eat. The medicine penicillin is a refined pharmaceutical grade product derived from mould. It's not just scrapings off a piece of bread, and if you see a little bit on the surface of something like a bread or any kind of absorbent food, moulds and funguses actually grow in the food and they're well established before they grow externally. However, in this instance, I think that mould and fungus has just been growing more on, it's been coming from the stems rather than the actual tomatoes. Yeah, these would just be a real rotten, soft mess on the edges if it was grown into them. And you see they're not rotting, they're still firm. There's a good chance if I'd pulled those vines off when I'd got them, they probably wouldn't have even done that anyway. So yes, It's your choice. I'm not saying if you have mouldy tomatoes in your fridge, go and eat them. I'm just saying I know what I can and can't eat, and I know these are going to be fine. And regardless, I'm going to cook them anyway. I don't think I'd want to try and eat these in a salad, but I'm going to cook them with some tomato soup and some herbs and salt and pepper and see what happens. So let me slice these up. So just melting a little butter in a pan. It's just for flavour, you know. Tomatoes, tomato soup, and a few herbs aren't going to be the most flavourful of dish, so a little bit of butter is going to help here. So in go the tomatoes, and I don't really want to fry these here. I want to try, because obviously as I've chopped these up, a lot of the juice has come out of them. At least try and, you know, get as much of that in there as possible. So, and basically, just need to let that cook down a bit. So I'm going to put the lid on the pan again to try and keep the moisture in. After I've given it a stir, just to stir that butter around with the tomatoes, for which I will need a wooden spoon, of course. Faithful old wooden spoon. So as the tomatoes cook down, obviously, as I'm sure you're aware, a lot of moisture is going to come out of them. I'm not going to cook them particularly fast. And yeah, then we'll add some other ingredients and see what we come up with. So that's been simmering for a few minutes. And as you can see, the tomatoes have started to break down. There's a lot of juice actually has started to come out of them. So I've mixed a sachet of that tomato soup mug mix in just with some cold water, about 200 mils. In it goes. I've got to admit at this point, it does not look overly appetising and it is very runny. So I think the rest of the cooking of this is going to be with the lid off. I'm going to put in a squirt of tomato puree. Just beef up the tomato flavour a bit. And whilst I've got it out, although really should be added later on in cooking, but what the hell, some garlic puree. Yeah, that's going to need to reduce down quite a lot. I should have put less water in with that soup mix. To be honest, it's almost could have got away with just tipping the powder in as it was and just adding a few spoonfuls of water depending on how thick it got. Although the thickener in the soup mix is already thickening this up quite a lot, but I just don't want this super wishy-washy sauce, and that noise is the extractor fan above the cooker. So let me get some herbs in here to get them soaking. That's not a lot, it looks more than it actually is. A little bit of Himalayan salt. Some black pepper. I do like pepper in pasta sauce. To most people's liking, I go way too peppery, but to me, I like the taste of it, and as I'm the one eating this, actually now that's thickened up a bit, it doesn't look as overly watery as I initially thought. And the final thing, because it is tomato based and it's probably going to be very acidic, and that is going to help bring out the flavours of the herbs and the garlic. That's actually tasting pretty good. You know, I was going to add a bit of sugar, but I don't think it needs it. I think that's alright. Yeah, that's not bad at all. So normally I would have my pasta cooked first, but in this instance, if I had the pasta boiling away, it's just another noise for the camera. So let that reduce down and cook some pasta. I have found in the cupboard a tin of hot dogs. I'm not sure whether to chop a few of them up and put it into this sauce. I think I might. It's just an extra flavour in there, isn't it? So these kinds of hot dogs, yes, they're very low grade meat. They're not the kind of stuff you'd want to eat whenever options are available. However, thanks to people who've just gone out and been insane, the likes of people like me who just want to be able to nip to the shops even though there's nothing wrong with the actual supply chain, all the food is still being produced, but thanks to people who've just been idiots, I can't nip to the shop and just go and pick up a few bits of food to cook myself. Hey, I don't want to call it my Sunday dinner, but today is Sunday and it's my dinner. I'm not in full self-isolation, but I am being sensible and I'm avoiding going out to see friends and family. So it's just me. The cat did come in, the cat hath gone out again. So I'm going to save half of that tin for something else. So it's 4 hot dogs. It's not a lot, but it is some protein, and probably should have cut them in halves first, but hey ho. Bit of protein, an extra bit of flavour. You can't just live on carbohydrates. So in go the hot dogs, which I've just took the liberty of just quickly running the knife across to chop them a bit finer. Bits on my finger. That is actually a much more inviting colour. It was pretty anemic looking. Try and get that in frame better. It was pretty anemic looking when I first tried it. Now I can go straight in and taste test this because those hot dogs are safe to eat cold out of the tin. I don't need to worry for them to cook through or anything. So let's see. Yeah, that's alright. I think a bit more tomato puree in it. It's a bit lacking in tomato flavour. So yes, now it's just, I'm going to cook some pasta, drain the pasta, and I shall probably actually not quite fully cook the pasta. I shall probably stop it a minute shy or so where it should be and finish cooking it in here to soak up some of the flavours, some of the moisture and the flavours from this sauce. So I'm a couple of minutes into cooking my pasta and the sauce is thickened up, it's reduced down quite nicely. Still way too much fluid there for, you know, the amount of sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? But basically the amount of ingredients that are in that sauce is about right for really one person's portion of pasta. I'll turn that off actually because it's boiling its ass off. However, the amount of liquid in it is what you'd expect for enough sauce for several people's portions. Now, admittedly, I could only use half the sauce on my pasta and have another pasta dish, you know, in a few days' time, just keeping this in a jar in the fridge. However, I'm cooking pasta now, and I want to use all that sauce up now. So, like I said, I'm going to, a few more minutes, this pasta will be done, and I'm going to finish off cooking it in that sauce and see what I get. I have some cheese luckily enough, so that's really going to help with the flavour. Everything tastes better with cheese. So then, here it is. Let me get a couple of ladlefuls out. So as you can see, it's the amount of liquid has certainly been reduced due to the A, the boiling, and B, see it's not particularly liquidy in there, and B, the absorption of the liquid by the pasta. So I'll get myself a bit of cheese on there. And there you go, a meal for one. So what am I trying to say by this video? I guess what I'm trying to say is you have more food in your house than you realise if you're just willing to go outside of your usual comfort zone. So you got to wonder how many people who have been hoarding food up at present, it's not because they want to make sure they have food, it's because they want to make sure their diet doesn't change in any way, shape or form. They want to have all the ingredients to make their same favourite dishes to excess like they normally can. And it's left people like me scavenging around in the cupboards to try and make something edible out of either ingredients that have started to spoil or which aren't really being used for their intended purpose. And so the pasta here, without any sauce, what have I got? I've just got boiled pasta. You're going to have to be pretty hungry to actually tuck into that. The tomatoes, had I not used them this way, if you just try to use them as standard tomatoes, slice them, eat them in a sandwich or whatever, they'd gone in the trash, you wouldn't want to eat them. And the tomato soup, it was a mug soup mix, you'd have had it in a mug with some soup. So just combining a few ingredients that wouldn't really have either been used or wouldn't normally go together in a manner. I've got food, and this, I guess that's the point I'm making, is the amount of people who are going out panic buying thinking they don't have enough food. They have more food than they need. I'm okay, I've got food in the cupboards until I literally have no food in my cupboards. That's the point when I say I have no food. And even the bag of sugar, you can live on sugar if you need to. It's still a source of carbohydrates. So anyway, I suppose I should test this, shouldn't I? Let's, couldn't find a spoon, typical. Get a bit of some cheese on it. So it's quite hot. Oh yeah, that's hot. Well, I must say, that is perfectly edible food. That tastes fine. There's a good balance of flavours. I did put a little bit of sugar in it, just a heaped teaspoon, because after it cooked for a while, the taste of the acidity really had come through from the tomato. A little hint of the garlic. The cheese is certainly helping with the flavours. The salt, the pepper, the tomato. Yeah, the herbs in there, I think that's just going to be like oregano and stuff. What does it say on the back of here? Marjoram, basil, oregano and thyme. So yeah, just and again, if you just keep those things in your cupboard and use them regularly, then if there is a shortage in the shops, you've got something to fall back on. It's too late thinking you need to go and buy them at the point the shops start getting short. They're the kind of things you want to stay on top of anyway. So yeah, anyway, I've got food for today. I've still got some left in the pan. I can eat that later on. And yes, this was a little glimpse into Liam's eating habits. I might slice a chunk of my bread off and just have some of that in. Once I finish the dish off, just mop up what's left of the sauce. But yeah, anyway, random video, I know, but that's my YouTube channel. Just bits and bobs of anything I feel like making. So as always, thanks for watching, and if you are stuck indoors, just chill out. As long as you stay sensible, you're not going to run out of food. You're still allowed out to go and get your shit paper. It will be in the shops again in a couple of weeks' time. At least supply-wise, everything's going to turn back to normal. As for what else is going on with, I have no idea. Who knows what's going to happen. But you're not going to starve to death and you're going to be able to wipe your ass. Just calm down. Okay, calm down.